Lead generation agencies, techniques they use. Why lead generation agencies are surging in B2B. If you've ever searched for lead generation agencies after a tough pipeline review, you're in good company. The buying journey is increasingly digital, and modern prospects are comfortable evaluating and purchasing without a traditional in-person sales cycle. In fact, about 73% of B2B buyers are willing to place $50,000+ orders through digital or remote channels, which raises the stakes for consistent outbound visibility. The downside is that outbound is more competitive than it used to be. Inboxes are crowded, phone connects are harder, and spray-and-pray messaging gets filtered out fast. Cold email performance has softened in recent years, and reply rates have become a direct reflection of targeting, relevance, and deliverability, not just volume. That's exactly where a specialized B2B sales agency, or SDR agency, can create leverage. For many teams, the decision is less about whether to do outbound and more about how to do it without burning time and credibility. Sales outsourcing can help you move faster, especially when your internal team is already stretched across prospecting, admin, and follow-up. The goal isn't to buy meetings, it's to build a predictable system that produces qualified conversations week after week. What lead generation agencies actually do, and what they don't. A real B2B lead generation agency operates like an extension of your sales development function. It defines who to target, builds clean lists, runs outreach, qualifies responses, and books meetings onto your team's calendar. The best partners also act like a revenue lab, testing messaging, cadences, and channels continuously, and feeding what they learn back into your go-to-market motion. That's why an outsourced sales team can outperform a new internal SDR hire in the early months. The process already exists. In practice, most modern programs blend cold email, calling, and LinkedIn into a coordinated sequence. Email often carries the volume, while calling and LinkedIn provide signal and reinforcement, especially for higher-value accounts. This is also where a cold email agency and a cold calling agency differ from general marketing lead gen shops. The deliverable is a sales conversation, not just a form fill. What an agency should not be is a black box that spits out calendar invites without accountability for downstream results. If the only reporting you see is dials, emails, and booked meetings, you're incentivizing noise. We recommend treating any sales development agency like part of your revenue team, with shared definitions, CRM visibility, and quality-focused KPIs tied to pipeline, not activity. Ruthless ICP, clean data, and a real list-building engine. High-performing outbound starts with a ruthless ICP, not a giant list. Before anyone launches cold call services or outbound email, you need clear firmographics, role definitions, buying triggers, and negative ICP exclusions that prevent wasted touches. A good partner will push you here because fuzzy targeting is the fastest way to torch budget and conclude outbound doesn't work. It's brutal, but it's true. Data quality is the quiet multiplier behind every metric you care about. If you're paying roughly $198.44 per B2B lead on average, and only about 27% are sales-ready, your list-building services and qualification steps have to be tight, or you're just buying expensive ambiguity. That's why serious teams validate emails and phone numbers, segment aggressively, and prioritize accounts by fit and, when possible, intent. A practical way to start is to audit the last 12 to 24 months of closed-won deals and disqualifications, then translate patterns into 2 to 4 testable ICP cohorts. From there, your agency or internal team can build targeted lists, launch controlled campaigns, and scale only after the data proves the segment converts. This is where B2B list building services become a revenue lever instead of a one-time spreadsheet project. How agencies execute multi-channel outbound: email, phone, and LinkedIn. Cold email still works, but the baseline is humbling. Across recent benchmarks, average B2B cold email reply rates are around 3 to 5.1%. One large study also found reply rates fell from 6.8% in 2023 to 5.8% in 2024, about a 15% year-over-year decline. So generic templates and unsegmented lists get punished fast. The agencies that win treat deliverability, relevance, and follow-up as non-negotiables. Phone is the fastest feedback channel in outbound. A strong cold calling team uses live conversations to confirm whether the ICP is right, to capture the exact language prospects use, and to pressure test positioning in days instead of quarters. The difference between telemarketing and modern B2B cold calling services is training and intent. The goal is to earn a qualified next step, not to bulldoze someone into a demo. LinkedIn outreach services add a third lane that complements email and phone, especially for executives who screen calls and ignore unknown senders. The best sequences coordinate touchpoints across channels so the prospect experiences one cohesive narrative rather than disconnected pings. When the same account sees a relevant email, a respectful call, and a thoughtful LinkedIn touch in a tight window, conversion rates typically move in the right direction. Treat outbound like a product. Define the ICP, ship weekly experiments, and measure success by pipeline quality, not activity. Best practices that separate busy from effective. Top shops run outreach like an ongoing optimization program, not a one-off campaign. They keep a testing backlog for subject lines, hooks, call openers, and cadence timing, and they review performance on a weekly rhythm with your AEs. That feedback loop is where you learn which objections are real, which segments are resonating, and which messages should be retired immediately. When you measure performance, anchor on benchmarks but manage to outcomes. Typical reply rates might sit in the low single digits, yet well-run, tightly targeted programs can reach top quartile replies in the 15 to 25% range when ICP, messaging, and deliverability are dialed in. The key is to track the full funnel: replies to meetings, meetings to opportunities, and opportunities to closed won. Here's a simple benchmark table we use to keep teams aligned on what good looks like and where to push next. And for audio, we're skipping the table. Common mistakes buyers make with agencies and how to avoid them. The most common failure mode is hiring a lead generation partner with a vague or untested ICP. If you hand an agency mid-market SaaS and ask them to run, they'll burn through thousands of accounts that were never going to buy, and your team will conclude outbound is broken. The fix is straightforward. Co-create the ICP using win-loss data, define exclusions, and start with small cohorts you can validate before scaling. The next mistake is judging success only by meetings booked, which incentivizes low-quality calendar stuffing. Instead, define qualification criteria up front and report on downstream conversion rates, pipeline created, and revenue influence. If you want a pay-per-appointment lead generation model, protect it with a clear qualified meeting definition and a shared scoreboard inside your CRM. Finally, don't treat the agency as a black box or expect instant ROI from a 30-day trial. Outbound needs time to test, tune deliverability, and build market familiarity, and complex B2B cycles rarely produce closed won in month 1. Plan for a 3 to 6 month evaluation window with milestones for list build, launch, optimization, and qualified pipeline creation. AI and automation. Augment SDRs without losing the human edge. AI is now baked into modern outbound, but it works best as an amplifier, not a replacement for trained SDRs. Businesses using AI-powered lead gen tools report roughly a 35% lift in conversion rates, largely because research, enrichment, and first draft personalization happen faster and more consistently. The human still wins the conversation, especially on the phone and in nuanced replies. The operational advantage shows up in focus time. When a specialist provider takes on prospecting and coordination, sales reps supported by agencies can spend about 73% of their time pitching and closing instead of living in tabs, lists, and admin. That shift matters because the best AEs should be in discovery and deal cycles, not cleaning data or writing 200 variants of the same email. At SalesHive, we pair professionally trained SDRs with an AI-powered personalization system to keep relevance high at scale while maintaining tight QA on messaging and targeting. Whether you hire SDRs internally or partner with an SDR agency, insist on the same fundamentals: transparent data sources, CRM integration from day one, and reporting that ties outreach to pipeline outcomes. That's how you build one integrated funnel instead of an agency silo. Budget is moving toward lead gen because competition is intensifying. Around 69% of B2B companies plan to increase lead generation investment. That doesn't mean every provider is right for you, and it doesn't mean more spend fixes weak fundamentals. Your goal is to select a sales agency that can show its process, its testing cadence, and its ability to create qualified pipeline in your exact market. Operationally, outsourced appointment setting can be attractive because it reduces time to launch and management overhead. Many teams compare an in-house SDR cost of $90 to $110K fully loaded with an outsourced ramp that can launch in about 30 days. And some analyses show 20 to 30% lower cost per appointment with specialized providers. Whether you choose cold calling companies, a cold email agency, or a full outbound sales agency, validate the economics against opportunity creation, not just meetings booked. Next steps are simple and practical. Align your ICP and definitions, MQL, SQL, SAL, require full CRM visibility, and set a weekly feedback loop with your AEs so messaging evolves with reality. Ask to see example reporting, deliverability practices, and how the team handles experimentation when results dip. If you bring clarity and feedback, a great partner brings process, scale, and the day-to-day execution that keeps pipeline moving.